What is going on, people? Today we're going to be talking about one specific familiar because you guys have been asking some questions regarding familiars, which to use, etc. But there is one familiar out there that I see a lot of people being super high on, and I disagree. And I'm going to show you exactly why. It's to the point where I honestly haven't even unlocked it. And if you can tell by the title, that familiar is Pyris. Now, there's a couple of things to go over as far as the army talent turbocharge and why a lot of people would think that this ability is actually really good, where in reality it's not as good as it may seem. So once you unlock this and let's say you get a 2 max level 10, at the start of the battle grants a 60% boost to heroes' tactics skills, increasing squad attack dealt as damage to enemy troops for 10 seconds. Now, if you don't really know exactly what that means, like if you read that and you're like, what? I'm going to show you what exactly this means. 60% boost to heroes' tactics skill is going to be this. If you go over to your heroes, any hero, because every hero has the same thing, they just named differently, but essentially they all do the same. Right here, Star Song, we have Guerrilla Charge. All of the heroes have one, but essentially they all do the same thing. They all deal 200% squad attack as damage to enemy troops. So with turbocharge, that will bump it up to 260%. Now, if you're still a little confused as to what all that means, I actually saved a battle to show you exactly what this means. But if you've ever watched one of those battles like a rally or solo, etc., when you see your heroes or the enemy heroes become large and actually do like an attack, that is when they're doing their squad attack. And also, they will not do the squad attack if they don't have the troops necessary to do them. For example, Storm Fox is a cavalry type hero. So even though they are an army attack hero, if there is no cavalry in the rally, they are not going to do the squad attack. So just keep that in mind. Something to be very mindful of. But generally speaking, especially in heroes like Grove Guardian, where it's all range and it's a ranged hero, obviously you're pretty much only going to be using him with range troops. But if for some reason you send them with like cavalry troops, I don't know, for whatever reason, then they're never going to use this tactics skill, and turbocharge is going to be even more useless. But essentially, when we go back to Pyris, this is going to be boosting it to 260%. Now, technically speaking, the tactics skill is actually very, very powerful, because if you ever take a look at the battles, when your heroes get large or the enemy heroes get large, that's when you take a lot of the morale hit to your army. So a boost to that, you may think, is actually very, very good. But I'm going to play this battle for you, and I'm going to show you why this is very, very overrated. And as far as familiar goes, as far as having it on the wall or having it in your solo attacks, it may still prove to be decent, especially if you don't have any other alternative, but it's not as good as you may think. So let's go ahead and view the battle. Let's view the battle real quick. So the first thing to note right here is right there. He is going to use this right at the beginning of the battle. You don't need to take any damage like a lot of the familiars out there, where you need to take 8% damage, 7% damage, 10% damage to your troops. You don't need to do none of that. He literally, at the beginning of the fight, he pops up and he procs. So essentially, what this means is the first 10 seconds of your battle, you will have this boost. That sounds great, but actually, that's the downfall of the whole thing, because here we go. He's going to go ahead and proc. There it is. They're turbocharged. But what do your troops have to do at the beginning of the battle? They have to walk to engage the other troops. And depending on what troops you're sending, like if you're sending your infantry into their range, where your troops are slower, they're going to have to go a further distance. By the time they actually get to the range, these 10 seconds may already be up. Now, this one is a unique thing because there's 3 troop types in each corner. It's a fort battle, so it's mix on mix. But technically speaking, if it's like your infantry on range, where the walk time is even longer, it's going to have even less usage. So let's go ahead and view the battle. Look at this. It's already going. And remember, this doesn't work until your heroes get large. Okay, so let's take a look. You got one and what? A couple. So let's run that back without pausing it, because I want you guys to see how not very useful this is. Okay, now let's watch this again, right? One thing you will notice right away is that the two ranged heroes in the back will get their squad damage off, but usually what that is going to be hitting is only the fluff troops. You know, the 4 infantry, 4 calves that you add to like a range blast. That's generally what those heroes will be using it on. This is, like I said, a different scenario because it's mix on a fort, but generally speaking, you don't see that as often as like full blast, cavalry, range, etc. And when people do that, they do add the quote-unquote fluff troops, which you have to hit a couple of times before you actually get to the main troops. So these initial 2 hits right there from the range, you may think it's actually really taking advantage of it, but generally speaking, it's not. It's going to be hitting 4, 8 troops in general. So by the time they're already engaging, half of the ability is already used up. And then the last one that you see here is the Watcher. The Watcher get his hit off, and then it's gone. So in total, in those 10 seconds, you had 3 heroes use their abilities, and 2 of them are generally going to be hitting pretty much no troops. So essentially, you boosted 1 hero by 60% for a whole familiar. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like very, very strong, very, very useful. And I understand that with Pyris, his main thing is that he procs right away, and that can be seen as to like very useful for a lot of people. But generally speaking, I would save your stones in order to boost something else, whether it's the stacking familiars, because those are definitely useful, especially if you're attacking, or the ones that give you a static boost like a 15% range, cavalry, infantry attack, or the ones that raises your max HP, etc. Those are all better alternatives than this turbocharge, because 9 times out of 10, you're not really gonna get much out of it. So yeah, that's why it's one of the reasons why I haven't really cared to raise it up. And I see it a lot in a lot of people's wall, and I don't agree with that. And I understand the thinking behind putting it on your wall, is because on your wall, especially if you're being rallied or soloed, whatever the case may be, you want familiars that proc right away, because if you're losing 10% of your troops on a hit, you're probably not doing something right. So that's why people usually stay away from the familiars on the wall that you need to lose 10% of your troops before it can even activate. And turbocharge activates right away, so people see that and they're like, oh, that's amazing. But technically speaking, it ain't gonna do you too good. So turbocharge, if you have like no other alternative and it's your best bet, then sure, use it. It can be useful very, very few times, but it can still be useful. But generally speaking, there are better familiars out there for you to put on your wall or attack with, etc. But yeah, hopefully you guys find this useful. I will be going over other familiars, and especially the familiars that you should be having on your wall, etc. So look out for those videos. Appreciate you guys for watching, and until later, bye.